One of the things I want to say is when it comes to African American history, a lot of times our history is downplayed. Either they leave us out or they don't tell it right. So one of the reasons why I wrote my book is because I wanted to tell the full story about the African American experience and the culture on Edisto Island. What you're looking at not only is the Hutchinson house, but if you look at it this way, it's actually a whole community. Because if you go back in time, probably to the 18th and 19th century, this was a plantation, which was Clark Plantation, okay? It expanded from this creek all the way over to this other side here. And it was several families. So this is a whole community. So it's not just the Hutchinsons. I want y'all to see that. You had the Floods, you had the Wrights, you had the Reeves, you had the Browns, you had the Megans, you had, help me out, MP, the Campbells.
This site will tell the story of land ownership on Edisto from the first white settlers here to some of the first enslaved people on Edisto Island, all the way through Jim and Henry Hutchinson and the family. And it's going to tell the success of that family. And we want to share that story. But as I kind of thought about tonight, one of the things that I think is so important is to think about the fact that the Edisto Land Trust was started to stop change from happening to this island. We didn't want to see it morph into other sea islands in this area, lose its culture, its natural integrity, to lose the actual humans that have lived on this island for so many generations. So to be able to protect it and keep these heritage families, these descendants, and their homes here and not be forced out has been really a tremendous thing.
So for all of you, we Gullah Geechee, we want to say thank you to all the fathers. Well, come this your father, and your final father see that your journey, even in the rain, but there with me. So we're so glad that Hutchinson come to celebrate this Gullah Geechee nation, appreciation week with me, and this Gullah Geechee evening for Edisto. We're so glad that they are with all of Hutchinson. It's the most of people I ever been seen right up on this young land that take us land. So we hope that Hutchinson bless us by the evening, and the rain ain't gonna have to tall. The water to bring with the water going to take me back. So praise God for this your libation and relevant for all of Hutchinson who come here this evening to support the Edisto Land Trust, but also the Gullah Geechee Nation. And the Queen Quet, head from the body of the Gullah Geechee Nation. So glad for there with all of Hutchinson and for all the Gullah Geechee Nation. Just want to say thank you, thank you. So yeah, but this is a glorious estate here.
It is.
It is. So tell me something, when you say you're going to interpret the flora and the fauna and all that, like from just standing here, I see a bunch of fennel. I see something that might be a persimmon. Is that a pecan?
Well, you're gonna make me need to get Tom out here. He's
he's
our flora fauna guy.
Uh-huh.
He's amazing. But again, the grasses. So some of these grasses are, sandspur grasses.
And some of them is pain in the neck briars.
Exactly. But you for sure have a lot of native grasses. And there you have, the butterflies. You've got all kinds of pollinator insects that come through here.
Right.
There's a lot of people getting back into beekeeping.
Yes, there are.
But
fortunately, to save the bees. Even Morgan Freeman is a beekeeper now.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
But it is it's a lot that I don't know, and he's going to help us get all these.
He's your master naturalist.
Yeah, if he was here, he would say, "Oh goodness, where do I start?"
Yeah, where do I start?
It's about 50 different plant species that he could tell you all their.
And I don't have my snake boots on, so I wouldn't be fooling with him because he's probably the type of person walk out there, right?
He'd try to go grab you an insect or butterfly to show you. Yep.
Because that looks like persimmon trees there. That looks like a pecan tree way back there.
Well, they certainly have a lot of pecans out here.
Yeah.
They've got the black walnut on the
Uh-huh.
property. And
That's
the family,
right.
they
Did we
remember.
get black walnuts from you
Mm-hmm.
when we were here the first
You
time?
probably did. That second tree is black walnut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it look like it's barren this year?
Oh yeah, it has every year. They don't do like the pecans, I don't think. They fruit every year.
Okay, they don't take time off.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we'll take time off on it.
And he hasn't interpreted this yet, but you can see that he's doing some native pollinators here
I
too.
saw that, yeah.
And you know, we're still trying to figure out. You know, the path goes all the way around.
So,
the back of
okay,
the
so
field.
I stopped right around here because I saw
Yep.
the gate right there. So it'll go all back there.
Yeah, you see that pine tree
Yeah.
right in the middle of the field. That's the midway point, but it goes all the way back, all the way to that
even
back tree
further.
line. Yep.
Oh, wow.
And so we got a lot of room just on this side to do
Yeah.
nice interpretive signage,
Okay.
and we're going to have to do a couple of shade structures and some
Yeah,
benches.
so people can
and-
stop and
Yep.
rest and all that.
And now it's not like this all the way through. It goes to grass once you get a little further.
Okay. But
So,
did you intend for this to be tabby?
well, this is all shell sand. Yep.
This shell
and,
sand.
and it came here from Edisto.
Beautiful.
And we wanted it to be something hard enough to where if you're in a wheelchair
You
or
can push.
disabled, you could most
can make
likely.
it.
And as wet as it's been, this is
It's
getting
like
hard
all
as concrete.
solid. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, that's the idea.
Okay.
And I don't know what we'll do. Again, you know, a lot of experimenting
Yes,
right
of
now.
course.
But we'll definitely have some signage at some point to tell you what the
Tells
plants
you what
are.
these
Yep.
are.
He's been so busy just keeping the weeds and the deer out.
I was going to
He
say, this
hasn't
is
had
work.
time to
This
do
is
some
work
signage.
just by itself, much less all the rest of us out here.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
But
he's
it
our
looks good.
he's our land protection specialist, so he's got it, he's
Oh.
doing all this plus he's helping us protect more land out here.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
And it's only one of him, like it's one of you.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. We're just a little organization, four of us. Just four of
right?
us. Yep.
I was going to say 5. I was giving you extra person.
Yep. We do
Okay.
4 right now. So
Wow. But
but
look
yeah,
at,
so
look
you
at
can
what
see
you've
the
been able
trail
to do.
kind of going through
Yeah,
there.
it goes through here.
It hadn't been cut this week, it looks like, so it's gotten a little higher than it should
Oh,
be.
I
But
see how you mean. So
yep.
it's nice and grassy.
yeah,
here.
we're just running a mower over it ourselves. We got some volunteers that come out once a week or every other week.
To mow it.
Yep.
And it's ride too. So that's nice. So it gives you this option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're comfortable walking on grass, and you know, we just opened when you were here, and we haven't gotten on a good routine. Like right now, I wish this was just cut. But it hasn't been cut today. We got the bird boxes. Well, you remember Miss Hazel, that was the artist that was here? Her husband connected us with, oh gosh, I'm blanking out on the name of the bird company in Charleston.
Oh, they made those for you?
Well, they
Or
did.
they sell 'em?
They donated them.
Oh, they donated them? About
Oh, the Wild Birds Unlimited. Yeah.
Oh, I heard of them. Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
they've
yes.
got some stores around, and so we've got about, I don't know, 6 or 8 of those.
Of
Those
those.
are bluebird boxes.
Oh, really?
Now other birds do use them, wrens use them,
I'm
but
sure.
the idea is to have, because we've already got a lot of bluebirds out here.
Okay.
So-
So y'all will have a little thing to
Just
talk about the bluebirds too.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
has Audubon connected with you yet?
We haven't connected with them yet. They could be, you know, we're going to probably have all kinds of partners.
Yeah.
They do good partners. Let me put my mask back on. I forgot.
Well, how 100 children to do this year, the Queen Quet, head from the body of the Gullah Geechee Nation. I know y'all wonder if it's me. This is me under the mask marauder today. And why? Because we back here at the Hutchinson house. So, since this year time, the Rona still a run and thing like that is, John and I gonna go inside. We're gonna be kind of close together, so we want to make sure ain't nobody give each other nothing. You understand? Okay, so y'all children should take a note from what we doing. Okay, protect yourself. So, I'm so glad that y'all protecting the house and the land here, John. How's things been going? Look pretty
Thank you.
good.
We're doing, you know, we're doing good. I mean, it's been pretty impressive. The momentum has continued.
Yeah.
So yeah, last time you were here, we've made a lot of improvements.
Sure, because that was my steps the last time.
That's right. You got that right. Yep.
And I see that we got some real ones
That's
this
right.
time.
A little bit stable, a little more safe. Yeah, we did. So they have finished up so much work last summer. About this time last summer,
Okay.
they were out here hustling. We got a wonderful grant, as you may have known from
Yes. How
the National
much?
Trust. Well, we just got another one, but the one that did this part
Yeah.
was $85,000.
$85.
It helped us do all the work that you see here. So those chimneys that you see were
Yeah.
completely redone,
Oh
repointed.
yes, they look beautiful.
Because that one on the left, that thing was
just
gone.
about crumbled down.
Yeah, so
Yeah, right.
everything from the roof up is new, but
Beautiful.
with old brick. It's all, you know,
Okay, I was gonna ask you
it's
that.
all old materials.
Were
so
they bricks that were here from the original
The
house?
majority, we used every brick, full brick that was left here to
Outstanding.
do that. And then they had to bring in a couple of other, you know,
A
old
few
bricks.
fillings,
They
yeah.
did, because they didn't quite have enough, because a lot of them were broken and they couldn't use broken
Couldn't
brick.
use the broken,
Yep.
right.
So
But that's what you call restoration.
that's
For real.
restoration. You do what you
Yeah.
can. So they've done, everything is stable.
Nice.
You remember this house, the back?
I was
was
gonna say I could
fallen
look in
in.
from outside before.
Yep. So
Yeah.
that's just temporary. That's just
Okay.
covering up the back of the house.
Gotcha.
And the stairwell's just temporary.
Okay.
But the siding is all mostly new. We had to replace
Had to
almost all the
replace it.
siding, but we
Okay.
did it the same dimensions.
Okay.
We just
What
repainted.
type of wood is the siding?
It's all pine. It's
all pine. It would
all
make
pine.
sense
Yep.
since this road is all about the pine.
Exactly. That's right. It's pointed pines, and the house.
Pointed pine.
Floors are pine. The walls are pine. The
Everything's
ceiling's pine.
pine.
It's all pine.
So it's no false advertising.
That's right. You got it. You got it. So yeah, you want to walk up?
Yeah, and then I love the green. So tell me why the green and the red for you all? Because the green and the red represent other things to people of African descent
Sure.
in various parts of the world. So why the green and the red here?
Well, we're trying to do everything to the original colors of the house.
Gotcha.
So the reason they had it green and red, the Hutchinson family, is probably exactly what you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
But we had paint analysis done by some professionals, and this is one of the closest greens we could get
you
to
could
that
get.
color.
Yeah.
The red roof was red when we, you know, all the oldest pictures that we've seen,
You
all
saw
the
red roof.
documentation. So we selected a color that matches the tree, that matches the matriarch of the family.
Excellent.
It's a color named Myrtle.
Okay, Myrtle.
And Miss
Perfect.
Myrtle, she was the matriarch
Yes.
of the family, so it just all fell in place.
It
But
all works out.
this
Yeah.
is the color I think everybody remembers.
Absolutely.
For the last 50, 60 years, everybody's seen this color. So,
Right.
so that's why we did that. Yep.
Okay, and then for us, the red is for the blood of the people.
Okay.
And the green is for the land.
Ah.
And then the black, I guess, will be meat, the black gold going inside.
There you go.
so
I love
so
it.
definitely the red, black, and
Wow,
green.
that's
Liberation colors.
Well,
Those
see-
are liberation colors.
See, every
Yeah.
day I come out here, I learn something new,
Yeah.
and I knew I would with you today.
This is nice. You know, I love hanging out with you because we get swap stories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, then I got to share them.
Yeah.
So let's see.
I didn't even notice how that was the last time.
It's such a neat detail.
Yeah, that is so cute.
It's really cool. They did some really kind of, you know, just crafty type stuff in
Yeah.
here, which was awesome. But we had to take all this off. So the
Right.
only thing that really happened to the inside were the chimneys.
Okay.
Didn't do anything to the floor yet. Haven't
Right.
done anything to the ceiling, the walls. What we did is took all the wood off around this chimney, and the chimney will go into in the other room.
Okay.
And then they had to stabilize these chimneys. If you remember, this thing was
Yeah,
completely
this was
collapsed.
down. Yeah.
They had a hole through it. You can see through
I
up
see
here.
that.
They
So
filled
that's
the hole.
Okay, and what was this hole for?
It
Since
was-
you already actually have a chimney, what's that for?
It was for the wood stove they put
I
in
thought
later.
that's what you were going to
Yep.
say, for the pipe for wood stove.
You can still see where they burned the ground here, and a little bit of that
Oh, that's what happened there.
because that wasn't original. You know,
I
they had
got
to
you.
they had to break a hole through the chimney,
In order to put
put
that
that,
through
and it really destabilized it. So they had to do a bunch of special work
to
to really get it.
re-stabilize
That's
it.
right, and keep it, you know, traditional.
Keep
This
it
is
traditional.
original brick again, so
Right.
it's all.
But that shows the progression over time.
You
So
bet.
the modernization, like we look at it and say, oh, old wood stove. We
right.
say the word old,
That's
but
right.
that was a modern fixture
Exactly
at the
right.
time that they installed it, and that was kind of a step up from just having a chimney.
That's right.
Because depending on which kind it was, you could cook on it
Exactly.
too, as well as heat the place.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot
So
of
it was
us
a
grew up with
win-win.
those.
You betcha. Well, heck, they're
Yeah.
still being used up and down this road.
Of
right
course,
now.
up and down these islands, the coast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
You got it.
Beautiful.
So
Okay.
we got
So
some
where
folks
we
on this
headed
end.
next?
So I'll jump around because this is
Yeah.
what's next, and I'll keep showing you what we've done.
Yeah, please.
But since that's really all that's been done in
Done
here,
in here so far.
what's next is for us to go ahead and get the entire interior done.
I got you.
So we just received word about 3 weeks ago that we got this amazing grant from the National Park Service.
Yes, and that one is how much?
It's $171,000.
$171,500.
$171,500, and we just got all the official word this week how it's going to work. But that's all for the interior.
Excellent.
So we're going to be able to restore. Really, is the
The
idea,
whole
the
thing.
entire interior. So we want to, as I probably mentioned to you a long time ago, we want to bring it back to what it looked like when Henry and Rosa moved in the very first day.
Yes.
So it's going to be, a lot of work,
Yeah.
a lot of expense. We're assuming we got lead paint in here.
I was wondering about that.
So there's a big part of the process is containing all that lead paint, making it
Right.
safe for all the visitors that'll be coming in.
Yeah.
And then we can paint the colors back over it.
Okay.
And that same paint analysis, now we did get, you'll see some of these
I
little
was gonna
sticky
ask
dots.
you, I said, yeah, what's with those?
That is where they came in and took samples.
Oh,
And so
okay.
we left them up just in case we have any questions, but they did a massive, wonderful report for us. It took it back 12, 13 layers of paint.
Really?
So we get the choice of, but we want to take it back to the oldest
To the
paint.
original, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The
So
only
they
one-
date it too?
they don't really date it. We didn't do dating.
Okay.
It's more of just the actual layers.
Just
So,
layers,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
you'll go to the one they feel was the deepest one in.
Well, so here's the thing about that. This is a lot of salvaged material.
Oh.
So we've got to be careful.
Exactly.
Nothing's easy, right?
Exactly.
So we don't want to look like the house that it came from.
You wanted to
We
look
want to
like
look
this
like
house,
when they first
Hutchinson
painted
house.
it.
I
Yeah.
got you, yeah.
So we've got to get some experts to help us kind of assess what would
Assess
be
which
the best
one
way to
is
do
the one. Yeah, that
That's
makes
right.
sense. Because people don't realize that with historic preservation and restoration,
Right.
that people do salvage to do it,
That's right.
but people were salvaging back then as well.
You
There
got
was no Lowe's, there was no Home Depot.
right.
You either split the wood, cut it, made it yourself, or, hey, the house down the road fell in that last storm.
That's right.
And you go down there with the cart or whatever,
Yeah.
you bring some stuff back and you use it.
And you use it. You share.
Yeah.
You share with your friends and family. and
Absolutely.
That's why there's 5 different types of walls.
Walls
The
in the
beadboards
place.
are 5 different types of designs. And
Yeah.
that's because they got what they could, made it
And
work.
used it.
Yeah.
Right, but see, the greatest recyclers.
Exactly.
I always tell people that. I say in Gullah, we don't have the word recycle.
Yeah.
I say, but it's something we naturally do.
Yeah.
We don't throw away nothing. That's what we say. And so when we can't throw away thing like that, you can use it.
Yeah.
And so some people are like, oh, they're keeping all the junk. But then when there's that opportunity, like, oh, you know what? So-and-so probably has that.
That's right.
They can go get it.
I love it. That's right.
Yeah.
Now, and we can go in the other room, but the other thing that we did do that you can see from the
Yeah.
inside, these
Windows.
are all new
Windows.
replicated windows. They're 6/6.
Okay.
They were done by a wonderful craftsman in downtown Charleston who does nothing but historic window and door restoration or replication. And he donated for this project. His name is David Dick. And
That's
his company's
beautiful.
called The Ways of Wood. And if you get kind of certain angles, this is all period glass. So
Is
this
it?
all came from the late 1800s.
Oh,
And he-
so was he like a picker? Does he go around and get the stuff from other
yeah,
old buildings?
exactly. He salvages this stuff because he does this for a living. So he even went so far as to make sure it was all kind of the right tint. Because, sometimes
yes,
there's
yeah.
blues
There's
and
blue or
different
that
purples
yellowish
and stuff.
looking, yeah.
Yep, so
Mhm.
he picked some colors that really work. But you can see it
That's
was all
great.
handmade glass from the late 1800s.
Interesting. So tell me this. In your research and the work that you do, when you talk about the handmade glass, like we always talk about, Savannah grade, Charleston grade bricks, we talk about that a lot. Not too many people ever talk about the glass. Was there glass making as a big thing? Was there some specific island or anywhere in this county or around the neighboring area that you know of that
I
people
don't
used
know.
to get glass from?
That's a great question, and you would think he's got the answer. So,
He'd probably be the one.
yeah, I don't know that it was being made here in the States. I think some of this glass was
Being
coming over from Europe. Yeah,
right? That's
do.
what I
Yeah.
thought.
I
Yeah.
think that it was, but I'm going to find the answer out because that's a wonderful question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would love
absolutely.
to know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I know I've been, and nowadays you could go to certain places and meet glass blowers
exactly.
and get a lot of artistic stuff, but it would be wonderful to know if people were shipping it in or making it somewhere.
I need to know that.
Yeah.
We've been so busy just trying to do things and not so much do the research.
The
on
research,
it.
no, because you need to get the building up to par.
That's right.
I know how to do
And that is part of this new grant we've got with the National Park Service for the interior. Part of that is for us to do a new National Register for the house.
Oh, okay.
Because the actual registration we have to be on the historic registration list is part of a multiple listing for the island.
Right. And this is for the civil rights grants that
This is
y'all
the
got?
Civil Rights Grant for the
Yes.
National Park Service, that's right.
Mhm.
So we will be doing a lot of research during this phase. So we're going to get a lot of these answers that you're
Yes.
talking about. So we'll get more and more of that.
And I guess you'll then talk more about Edisto's role in the civil rights movement as
Absolutely.
well, as a
Well,
result of that.
And that's a requirement of this grant.
Of it,
I mean,
right.
we have to discover, you know, we put out there in the grant application what we knew already. That Jim Hutchinson was an activist back
Yeah.
in the early 1800s.
Right,
I mean,
way before what they consider the modern
they
civil
weren't
rights
called
era.
activists. They, you know,
Right.
they had other names for them. But
Absolutely.
yeah, you know, his story is going to be so wonderful to tell here because people. I mean, I've learned so much, but you know, just to tell you again, because you probably know it really well too. But you know, he went from being enslaved on this island as a young man to gain his freedom on this island, and then he became a precinct judge out here.
Yeah.
He did all kind, you know, because
Powerful.
it was amazing how the African American men went from being, you know, in essence in shackles
Yep.
to all of a sudden in positions of power.
Absolutely, and from being called chattel
Yeah.
to, which is property,
Yeah.
to owning property.
Exactly.
A critical part of the
Huge
freedom
part.
story.
That's right.
And then when you talk about in 1898, there's so many other things happening around us, up and down our coast. You got
Yeah.
Wilmington, the riots, and the burning out all the leaders like him,
Exactly.
beating them, killing them, running them into the marsh, making them get out of North Carolina because they don't want the quote black representation or the Negro representation happening inside the General Assemblies and so on,
Exactly.
and actually setting laws that would benefit other people like themselves.
Absolutely.
And here it is just down the creek, you know, down at the coastal waterway. Here we go. Here he
Yeah.
is. And then when we talk about civil rights, people don't recognize that there were multiple civil rights acts that they were actually for.
Right.
And we're almost in a period where we need another one,
That's
the
right.
way things are going right now, right?
Yeah.
So to think back to those 1800s, it would be so glorious to know he read that or he participated, and that's what,
Exactly.
you know, pushed his fervor to become a judge.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
He just did so many amazing things. But you know, the sad ending of that story is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
He was murdered just a few hundred yards down the road
Down the
here on
road.
4th of July in 1885 by a white man who nobody can say today exactly what his motivations were, but we
Right.
know that he showed up at a party that he wasn't invited to, and
Yeah.
he ends up shooting Jim and killing him, and he was tried and he was convicted and he served about a year in prison, and then he had an acquittal a year later
Yeah.
because, you know, he had an opportunity to
Yeah.
contest his case. So, you know, that story of civil rights
Yeah.
started, you know, all over the place, but we're
All
going to be able to tell a story about that here
Right
too.
here, absolutely, absolutely. And it's been such a hidden story for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so now this room is what? So let's tell me this. The first room we started in would be considered the what room?
Well, I'm discovering this because I'm talking to family members who remember what it was used for at the earliest they remember.
Yeah.
So that would have been more of kind of the gathering room in
Right.
there. So
Nowadays we said living room.
the living room.
Yeah.
Now I thought this just might be another space that could be a bedroom, could be another gathering space because it's got the other chimney. You know, there's not a chimney. The chimney goes through the second
Through the-
floor,
yeah.
but it's just downstairs.
Okay.
But I've been told by the family recently they remember the earliest they can remember this was a bedroom.
This
And
other
so
bedroom.
this might have been, and if you think about it, they might have needed 3 bedrooms, you know?
Absolutely.
So 2 down, I mean 1 down and 2 upstairs. But that's all part of, you know, some of that's going to be information we can discover. Some of it's
Right.
just going to have to be information that we, you know, have to kind
gotta
of
extrapolate.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
based on time periods and such. But oral history is so critical.
That's one of the last pieces that you were just filming there, which is beautiful. This is what we're going to use to replicate all that decorative trim, because that
On the
was one of the
outside?
features on the outside.
Yeah.
So this is original to the house when it was first built.
Beautiful.
It's super unique. We
It
do
is.
know of one other house on the island that
Oh, that
had
has
the
that?
exact same trim. So there was clearly a carpenter, and they were connected to this family. They were very
Okay.
close friends, and maybe you know some marital relationships.
I see.
So whoever built this house
Did,
built the
yeah.
Reed house as well,
As
and
well.
they've got some very decorative trim on that too. But this is what we're going to use to completely
Completely
do
do
the
the
exterior.
whole trim out there. Nice.
So to tell you, this is what the wonderful construction, restorationist, preservationists did. they tried to keep intact as much of the original material
boards that
as
they
possible.
could.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So they just sistered all these joists together. I mean, you could see how deteriorated it was. The house
Yeah, I
was
could
so
see.
close to falling.
Wow.
But they literally kept everything intact they could and just brought in some of the cool, the nice modern wood to make it stable.
Stabilize it. Mhm.
But that's been the case everywhere that you just can't see. That
But
they've
tell
had to
me
do.
this, so when you say you want to put it all back, like the house originally was when they moved in,
Yeah.
are you going to sacrifice some areas like this to leave it like maybe with a plexiglass in front?
I think so.
So people can see that.
I do think so. We want people to see the craftsmanship, honestly.
Right.
The mortise and tenon, just the hand-hewn boards, that sort of thing.
Exactly.
And then we also want them to understand, what's
What it
beneath,
took.
what it took
Yeah.
to restore it. Yep. So
Right.
I do think we'll do that.
Yeah, I think that would be a wonderful idea because, folks' imaginations aren't what they used to
That's
be.
right.
And so to really be able to show it to them, especially young people,
Exactly.
this would be really a great benefit because they're looking around a fully painted,
Just
nice
looks
house.
like a new house,
It'll
yeah.
just look like a new house.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you say, but under what you're looking at is this,
That's right.
that, huh?
Yep, you got
so,
it.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And so this house was built originally what year?
Approximately 1885.
1885. So you talking about a lot of storms. It has withstood the test of time.
Absolutely. The big hurricane that came through, I think, was 1893.
Yeah.
And this house withstood that storm. And we know it was 1885 to 1892. We're not sure the exact
somewhere
year.
in that period.
So either way, it was built before that massive hurricane that came through and wiped out Edisto Beach and all these other places. So it withstood all of that, which is amazing. So,
in the midst of how much property at that time?
on this land,
Yeah.
they owned approximately 20 acres at that
20
time.
acres
Yep.
at that time. And then he accumulated more.
He did well. Now he was part of the whole 404 acres. He helped
Originally.
acquire all that, but that
All
was
of it.
separated out between all the
Deeded
family
out.
and friends. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Now tell me what this hole up here above us.
Well,
What's that about?
so fortunately,
That's a lighting fixture.
that was a lot. They didn't modernize this house very much. So the families that kept living here over the years, they only put in a couple of window units. They put in very minimal electrical in the house.
Yeah.
So that's literally a modern electrical outlet that they had for, and we actually just removed that recently.
Okay.
But fortunately, they didn't try to put in all kinds of stuff because it really would have damaged, the original integrity.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's what that is. And you'll see a couple of a couple of outlets here and there.
Here
So,
and there.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice.
But that chimney's fully restored too.
I
That had to
see.
be repointed.
It looks so different than the first time.
Yeah, the masonry work was a big part of this most recent phase we just completed.
So what is with the wooden part around it?
So, that's just a decorative piece to, believe it or not, just to kind of hide the chimney. But it's a great question because I want to know why everybody did this. They did it all over, but nowadays in a modern house, you want to see as much as beautiful.
You want to see the brick. Yeah, you want to see the chimney.
So I think we'll do what you were just saying. I think we'll leave some sections like that open so you can see it.
We can see
But
it.
know that it wasn't originally like that.
Right, and then my thing is, I'm just thinking fire and wood, this is not a good idea.
But I really do need to know the answer to why that was all done because it is intriguing.
But it's interesting how they managed to do that. Yeah.
You betcha. So,
And then I'm thinking about having to clean out the slough every year, like that process.
yeah, that's a
And
good
who
point.
was the one that
Yeah.
had to do that?
That's a really good point. The chimney sweeps they might have had back then. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a dirty job.
Very.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So what we got next? What are the goodies?
I don't know. Let's go upstairs and
Go
look. You want to
upstairs?
do that and just
Yeah.
see? I'll try to think of or
Let's
see
see
something that
what's
we've
happening
done.
up here since the last time.
You got it.
And I've always known these old houses are bent down because the people were shorter.
Exactly. Or if they weren't, for some reason, they still kept the doors.
They kept the doors short, right? Yeah, so you gotta watch your head. I know
Now-
you really do.
This is, what you'll see up here is some of the worst interior damage to the house.
Is it?
Yep, and so this is where a lot of the work, but these dormers, which are so beautiful from the outside, they had to be completely rebuilt. I mean, they were totally off to the sides and all that, and so
Okay.
they restored them. But when you look up at these dormers, you can see where some of the old wood meets the new wood. Most of the old wood was deteriorated and gone.
Right.
But again, you know, we've got the new windows, but the back of the house was the worst damage.
Okay.
So that's why you see missing floorboards, and the wall has been patched.
But that's all from leakage or what?
Mostly leakage, but it's also where they built on modern stuff to the back of the house.
Add-ons, yes.
And so all the modern stuff was the stuff that fell apart. But yeah, the rot from the rain when the roof started to leak was really bad. And apparently the back of the house had a lot more leaks than the front of the house.
Than the front.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So, you know, it's interesting when you make that statement, the modern stuff was the one that started falling apart. And people feel like that nowadays.
Isn't that
like,
funny? Yeah.
All the new stuff, it does not last you as long as the what we call antiques do.
True.
And not as solid. But again, it's because of the skills.
Skills.
Like
they say, they don't build stuff like they used to. And
that's
true.
people too.
That's right.
They don't build them like they used to.
That's right.
Yeah.
You
And
got
so
it.
it's real interesting. Yeah.
But that is the beauty of why we are working with this architect and this constructional company, because they are skilled through the American College of Building Arts with learning the trade and the craft of the original builders.
Right.
So that's why we're so lucky to have Charleston so close, because we've got these talented people that can do this. Yep.
That's awesome. And then look at this view out here. This is nice. So when we talk about that whole 400 acres, looking out this window, that would have been some of the expanse of all of that, right?
You betcha.
To look at other families that were just down the way.
I mean, the trees were just starting to come in, because if you recall, you know, this island was all Sea Island cotton.
Absolutely.
So before the Civil War,
Hundreds of acres.
you might have seen some live oak trees, but aside from some shade trees, this island you could see from the beach to the river, because it was all cotton, every square inch.
Right, and that's what built up the wealth here.
Exactly.
As well as selling our ancestors, of course.
Exactly.
But that's what built up the wealth here. So now I know if we look out this window, though, you mentioned that that's where they had a dock out that way.
They sure did. They own the marsh. That's just the marsh directly across the street there. And they did have a creek. It's still there. There's a creek that comes up in there. And they had, I'm sure they had a dock. I'm not positive, but we're sure but they certainly accessed that. They used it for food.
That's what I was going to say,
And they also used the bluff mud, because the one unique thing about all of these, the Sea Island cotton, one of the features of it being so wonderful and some of the best in the world was partially because they used pluff mud to actually fertilize the fields. Yep. So owning marsh was really a big deal, because you could use your own pluff mud.
So they had to have some really, really rich cotton.
Oh yeah.
And I know y'all are now growing cotton. Did you use that same methodology?
No, I don't think we have yet. So that's experimental.
Yeah.
It's the third year. First year did okay. Second year didn't get a crop because the deer got to it.
Oh, okay.
This year the deer got to it again.
They got it again, but it looks pretty good.
Well, but then it came back, and then we re-fenced it with some different fencing.
Gotcha.
And I say we, Tom, who works.
You're like,
I didn't do it.
You're like, it wasn't me.
But it looks beautiful.
It does look beautiful.
And it's it's flowering already.
Yes,
so
I see that.
We're gonna get some cotton.
Nice.
So this is just for us to kind of figure out how to grow cotton, and but remember, that's original. That is a cultivar of the original seed that came from Bleak Hall. So that's that is cotton that literally is heirloom from the 1800s.
Yeah. Oh, excellent to know.
So it's kind of it's actually growing at McLeod Plantation. That's the same.
I was going to say that's the same one from McLeod. Was going to be my question to you.
That's where we got it. We got it
because it looked like what I saw them demonstrating out there when they literally had a cotton picking day.
Oh, they did.
And so I think 3 years ago.
Okay.
They must have had it was before COVID and all that. So I think it was 3 to 4 years ago. I get this invitation that they're having cotton picking day, and I'm like, are these people serious
sounds
right now?
That sounds a
little, I was like, so I'm like, should we go to this? So went ahead, got some family members, went up there, and I was like, oh my God, Queen Quet, this is so great, and we went out there, but theirs wasn't looking as spiffy, shall I say, as yours.
Okay.
Theirs was kind of trying to make it looked like, it was trying to get there, but it didn't look as spiffy as this. Yours looks really resilient and strong, but like they said, that was their first year.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay, Tom he's been 3 years And we did just get a lot of rain recently.
That's
that rain
right.
makes a
Yeah,
big
it
difference.
does
so
make a big
you're
difference.
seeing it probably maybe at its best right now.
That's good.
But adding the pluff mud in the future, I think is something we want to do just
Yeah,
to see,
see
you know,
what
how it
happens
works.
with it. Maybe have one section with it and one without.
Exactly.
Then you can really do a comparative analysis.
You got it.
So ultimately, will you do other crops? Like when we talk about going out here, of course, fishing and all that stuff.
Yep.
But will you do other crops that the Hutchinsons may have had as part of their daily meals? And I'm sure they
Absolutely.
had a subsistence field somewhere. on the
Absolutely, yeah.
property.
That's what they did. I mean, if they owned 10 acres, they probably had about 5 or 6 acres in cotton,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other acreage had to be for the livestock and for their
Food.
own food, their
Right.
vegetables. You betcha. So we don't know exactly what we haven't done the research. That'll
Okay.
all come out, but
As
we do
you do
know
it, yeah.
they sold stuff downtown Charleston.
That's what I thought in the market.
And this will tell the story. You know, we hope this to span
Mm-hmm.
kind of the first settlers on the island all the way to modern day. So what that means is we might have a little indigo out here
Okay.
because there was probably a little indigo grown here before they started the cotton.
the cotton.
So we might have a little indigo plot. We might have, of course, we want to have a little cotton, but we want to be respectful about how we have the cotton field
Right.
here. And then we also want to have, you know, vegetables. Potatoes were a big thing on this island for a while.
Uh-huh.
Tomatoes at some point were a
Tomatoes,
big
yes,
thing.
absolutely.
So yes,
And
we'll
I
have some
figure okra
demonstration
and all
gardens.
that.
Yeah.
So tell me this. So I know you have your pollinators out there
Yeah.
and everything growing, and you have your trail that's coming around. So what is the trail really going to represent when people start coming out and you have it all fully put in? What's going to be the deal on the trail? Are we just walking, meandering?
No,
or are
well-
we looking at kiosks and learning some of this history we're talking about?
Yep. Well, hopefully all the above. So we want you to meander and just get lost in the moment of where you are and just the tranquility of the nature out here. But we are going to have interpretive signage out there. These meadows and grasslands that you have, some of these are, you know, most of them are all native to this area.
Yes.
So we're going to interpret the plants,
Okay.
the grasses,
Nice.
because that's really important. There's not a lot of native grasses and grass fields. A lot of folks are, you know,
Yeah,
cultivating
they've
them or
cultivated them.
doing other things.
Yeah.
So, but we also are going to have, and we've got a whole other trail system we're going to have over here.
Okay, coming through.
So that's all to be determined exactly how we
How
interpret
you
it,
do
but
it.
it's going to talk, that's probably going to talk more on the outside in the field
Yes.
about that whole period between the first settlers to the
And
modern day.
modern day.
Whereas the house is going to be mostly about the Hutchinson family.
Got you.
But the grounds will be about what was happening on Edisto
Right.
agriculturally, just with
Yeah.
humans and where they lived. So,
Right.
so
So, to
we'll
give
have
a
signs.
context for it. So the house
Exactly.
sitting within that context.
Exactly.
So then now we had the 85,000, which you spent
Yeah.
wonderfully. You got the 175. What is it, 171 and 500?
That's right,
171 and 500. That we're gonna finish up the inside,
Yep.
but you still need money,
You
right?
need money. That's
For the outside stuff.
that's right.
So how much is the goal for that?
Well, the exterior with the porches and the rear of the house, because we want to put that back room back on, because there
Yeah.
was originally an enclosed room on the back of the house
Okay.
too, on the lower floor. We're getting quotes for all that, but we're assuming it's going to be at least another $250,000 to $300,000 to do everything we do.
I figured it was going to at least be 200.
And that's just for the house. We don't really know about parking and bathrooms, and
Yeah.
so that's, we're taking it in steps.
steps.
But this will be a big year because we're going to really be able to make a lot more decisions, get more quotes, and figure that thing out. Because we want to get the house open to the public as quickly as we can.
As
so.
we can. That's
yeah.
nice. And then now with the COVID going on, being able to come out and walk around and see people even out the window right now that are parked and looking at some of the kiosks already there and
Yeah.
strolling the grounds, I know that that can make a big difference. And one of the things as people come in, it says donate.
Right.
So folks who are watching Gullah Geechee TV, where can they donate? If they say, well, we want to help you hurry up and get this finished,
You betcha.
where can they donate?
Well, the easiest place to find it is if you go to edisto.org, which is edisto.org. And on our homepage, we've got the Hutchinson House right there, and you can
Prominently.
click to donate. So it's
Yeah.
as easy as that.
Wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, Hutchinson. Now that last part was that it's easy as that. As you can see, none of this work is easy at all. But it makes a big difference. And especially when you have teams of people that collaborate with their expertise. This house didn't get built overnight. So of course restoring it can't happen overnight. But I'm sure there was a huge team of people that built and put in every slat of board, even the pieces that we said they probably went down the road and hunted up and brought from somewhere else. So we need you to be one of those folks that if you're down the road, hunt up some cash and make a donation to edisto.org for the Hutchinson House project so that we can finish this. This is truly a Gullah Geechee freedman's cottage, we would often call it, and so that you can be here and be a part of this Gullah Geechee living legacy. This year the Queen Quet, head from the body of the Gullah Geechee Nation. I think John and I going outside now. Y'all see we the sweating and sweating, y'all. This ain't just for the show. This thing is how it goes. And when you're working hard, you should break a little bit of a sweat. And for our ancestors, I think they're worth it. All right? Y'all stay safe, be healthy, and definitely hold on to Hunter land, Hunter culture, and Hunter legacy. Peace and blessing, everybody.